They are described the same way in New Mexico and New South Wales, in rural Brazil and suburban Belgium, by fighter pilots, school children, police officers, and nuclear engineers. Small in stature, grey skin, enormous black eyes, no visible ears, a slit for a mouth. For 80 years, thousands of people across dozens of countries with no connection to each other have described the same being. The question that should disturb you is not whether these people are telling the truth. It is why their descriptions match. July 1947. A rancher named Mack finds wreckage scattered across his property near Roswell, New Mexico. The Roswell Army Airfield issues a press release confirming the recovery of a flying disc. Within 24 hours, the story changes. It was a weather balloon, they say. Case closed. But not everyone stayed quiet. Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who handled the debris, spent the rest of his life insisting the material was not from any weather balloon. In sworn testimony before his death, Marcel described metallic fragments that could not be cut, burned, or bent. He described I-beams with symbols that resembled no known language. And then there were the bodies. Multiple military witnesses, including mortician Glenn Dennis and nurse Naomi Self, described small, grey-skinned, humanoid bodies recovered from a second crash site. Their descriptions were consistent: 3 to 4 feet tall, disproportionately large heads, enormous dark eyes, no external ears, 4 fingers. This was 1947. There was no internet, there was no UFO subculture, there was no template for what a grey alien looked like, and yet the descriptions were already remarkably specific. September 1961. Betty and Barney Hill are driving home through rural New Hampshire when they observe a large, silent craft tracking their car. What followed became the most thoroughly documented contact case in history. Under separate hypnosis sessions conducted by psychiatrist Dr. Benjamin Simon, both Betty and Barney independently described being taken aboard a craft by small grey-skinned beings with large, wraparound eyes. The beings communicated telepathically. They conducted physical examinations. Betty was shown a 3-dimensional star map. She drew it from memory. In 1968, amateur astronomer Marjorie Fish spent years cross-referencing Betty's drawing against known star catalogues. Her conclusion: the map depicted the Zeta Reticuli star system, a binary system 39 light-years from Earth that was not even included in most star catalogues at the time Betty drew it. The statistical probability of that match occurring by chance was calculated as less than 1 in 1,000. The Hills had no astronomical training, they had no motive to fabricate, and their descriptions of the beings matched what witnesses in Roswell had described 14 years earlier, and what thousands more would describe in the decades to come. In the early 1990s, Dr. John Mack, a Pulitzer Prize-winning psychiatrist at Harvard Medical School, began doing something no mainstream academic had attempted. He started taking contact claims seriously. Mack interviewed over 200 individuals who reported encounters with non-human beings. His subjects came from different countries, different cultures, different socioeconomic backgrounds. Many had never read a book about UFOs. Some were children. He applied every standard psychiatric evaluation available. None of them were delusional. None were fabricating. None fit any known psychological profile that would explain coordinated false memories. What disturbed Mack most was the consistency. The beings described were almost always the same: grey skin, large heads, enormous black eyes that witnesses described as conveying a kind of intelligence or emotion without any facial expression. Communication was telepathic. The encounters frequently involved medical procedures and a recurring message about environmental destruction. Harvard tried to revoke its tenure. They convened a special committee, the first of its kind in the university's history, to review his work. After 14 months, the committee found no professional misconduct. Mack continued his research until his death in 2004. His data remains the largest controlled academic study of contact experiences ever conducted, and the pattern it revealed has never been explained. In 1977, residents of Colares, a small island community in northern Brazil, began reporting nightly visitations by luminous craft that directed beams of light at people on the ground. Witnesses reported burns, puncture marks, and temporary paralysis. The Brazilian Air Force launched Operation Saucer, a 4-month military investigation led by Captain Oirange Hollander. Hollander's team photographed the craft. They documented over 300 witness testimonies. They recorded physical evidence including radiation burns and unexplained blood abnormalities. Multiple witnesses described small beings with grey skin and large dark eyes operating the craft. The Brazilian Air Force classified the entire investigation. Captain Hollander was ordered never to speak of it. Decades later, after the files were partially declassified, Hollander gave a single interview confirming everything. He described what he saw as beyond any known human technology. 2 months after that interview, he was found dead. The Colares files remain one of the only cases in which a national military conducted a prolonged, documented investigation of contact phenomena and encountered the same grey-skinned beings described on the other side of the world. September 1994. The Ariel School in Roswell, Zimbabwe. During morning break, 62 children between the ages of 5 and 12 witnessed a craft land at the edge of the school grounds. Several children approached it. They described small beings, grey-skinned, with enormous black eyes, that emerged and communicated telepathically. The message, according to multiple children interviewed independently, was a warning about how humans were treating the planet. John Mack flew to Zimbabwe and interviewed the children individually. Their drawings were consistent. Their accounts did not contradict each other. There was no television at the school. There was no internet. Most of the children had never heard of aliens. 30 years later, many of those children, now adults, have been re-interviewed. Their accounts have not changed. Not one has recanted. When asked what they saw, they described the same thing they described in 1994. Grey skin, enormous eyes, a message about the Earth, 62 children, no contamination, no motive, no explanation. Roswell, New Hampshire, São Paulo, Rua, Pine Gap, Rendlesham Forest. The descriptions do not change. Across 80 years, across every continent, the grey remains the most consistently described non-human entity in recorded history. There's no cultural template that explains it. There is no psychological mechanism that produces identical false memories in unconnected populations, separated by decades and oceans. Something is being seen, something is being reported, and the pattern demands an answer. Next episode, Valiant Thor. The being who allegedly walked into the Pentagon in 1957 and stayed for 3 years. Subscribe now and follow the